Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you love coins and cool facts, you're in the right place. Watch this video, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's get started. The 1965 Washington quarter holds a uniquely important place in the history of United States coinage. More than just a 25-cent piece, it marks a pivotal transition in America's monetary system. The year 1965 was a turning point, ushering in the end of an era for silver coinage and the beginning of a new chapter defined by cost-effective materials and modern production techniques. With its introduction, the 1965 quarter became the first in circulation to no longer be struck in 90% silver, making it a symbol of economic adaptation and innovation. To understand the full significance of the 1965 quarter, one must first explore its roots. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932, designed by sculptor John Flanagan to commemorate the 200th birthday of the first U.S. President, George Washington. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing bust of Washington, modeled from a famous 1785 bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. The reverse design, unchanged from 1932 until the bicentennial issues of 1975-1976, depicts an eagle with outstretched wings, clutching a bundle of arrows above two olive branches. From 1932 through 1964, quarters were struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 6.25 grams. However, by the early 1960s, rising silver prices, fueled by inflation and increasing demand in industrial and investment markets, led to widespread hoarding of silver coins. The United States Treasury faced a serious coin shortage, and people were no longer spending their silver coins, preferring to save them as bullion. In response, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, a landmark piece of legislation that removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters, replacing it with a new clad composition. Starting in 1965, quarters were made using a copper-nickel clad composition. Two outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This resulted in a total composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. The new clad quarters weigh 5.67 grams, lighter than their silver predecessors, and can be easily distinguished by their copper-colored edge when viewed from the side. The change was not merely cosmetic or economic. It represented a major shift in how the U.S. Mint approached coin production in a changing world. Interestingly, because of the urgency to address the coin shortage, the U.S. Mint did not include mint marks on quarters from 1965 to 1967. This makes all 1965 quarters indistinguishable by mint location, even though they were struck at multiple facilities including Philadelphia and Denver. Furthermore, to prevent hoarding and the removal of newly introduced clad coins from circulation, the Mint also ceased the production of special proof and mint sets during this period. Instead, it released special mint sets, SMS, from 1965 to 1967, which featured coins with a better-than-circulation strike, but not quite up to proof standards. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1965 quarter is the variety and errors associated with it. Because of the mass production required to meet demand, over 1.8 billion 1965 quarters were struck. There are numerous examples of errors, some of which are highly prized by collectors today. The most famous and valuable of these is the 1965 quarter struck on a 90% silver plancher, a transitional error caused when leftover 1964 silver planchers were accidentally used. These rare coins weigh more than their clad counterparts and lack the copper edge, making them a target for coin hunters. Only a few dozen are known to exist, and they can fetch thousands of dollars depending on condition and verification. Other notable errors from the 1965 quarter include off-center strikes, double-die obverses and reverses, and improper metal mixes. Some collectors also seek high-grade examples of the 1965 SMS quarters, particularly those with cameo or deep cameo finishes, which are especially rare and valuable. Despite the sheer number of 1965 quarters produced, finding high quality, uncirculated specimens can be surprisingly challenging. Because the vast majority of these coins entered circulation immediately, many show signs of wear. As such, quarters graded MS-65 and higher by services like PCGS or NGC can command premiums, especially those with sharp details, minimal contact, marks, and lustrous surfaces. SMS examples graded SP-67 or higher, especially with cameo contrast, are considered top-tier collectibles within the series. Numismatically, the 1965 quarter represents a classic case of transitional history, both in composition and in public trust. When the U.S. government made the controversial move to remove silver from coinage, it needed to reassure the public that the value and function of coins would remain intact. To support this, the Treasury made public announcements that the new clad coins were just as good as silver ones for transactions. Still, the public was slow to embrace them at first, and silver coins continued to be hoarded for years. From a collector's point of view, the 1965 quarter is also a good entry point into understanding how modern economic forces affect coinage. It's an educational artifact showing the interplay between metal markets, public behavior, and mint policy. It bridges the gap between classical coinage and the contemporary era, and is often studied alongside other transitional year coins like the 1965 dime and the 1970 Kennedy half-dollar, which also feature famous transitional errors. In circulation. Today, the 1965 quarter still appears from time to time, though most have been worn down through decades of use. While not rare in general terms, its historical significance ensures it retains a place in most U.S. coin collections. Moreover, because of its silver transition and variety potential, it remains a coin of interest to advanced collectors, error specialists, and silver investors alike. To conclude, the 1965 United States quarter dollar is far more than just pocket change. It tells the story of a nation adapting to economic realities, a mint facing unprecedented challenges, and a public grappling with a changing standard of value. Whether held in hand, found in circulation, or displayed in a collection, the 1965 quarter serves as a tangible piece of American history, one that reflects resilience, innovation, and the ever-evolving face of currency. The 1970 United States quarter dollar, a hidden gem of modern American coinage. The 1970 United States quarter dollar, part of the long-running Washington quarter series, may at first seem like an ordinary coin. Struck as a regular issue, circulating coin, it often gets overlooked by collectors and the general public alike. However, beneath its surface lies a coin steeped in subtle historical transitions, rare varieties, and intriguing minting events that make the 1970 quarter far more important than it may first appear. From mysterious proof errors to the final years of the original Washington quarter design before significant changes, the 1970 quarter is a quiet cornerstone in the narrative of modern U.S. coinage. To fully understand the 1970 quarter, we must revisit its origins. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932. Created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Sculptor John Flanagan designed the coin, featuring a classic portrait of Washington on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse, with wings spread and arrows in its talons above an olive wreath. The design remained unchanged for decades, representing both national pride and continuity across generations. By 1970, America was in the midst of great cultural and economic change. The country had already shifted away from silver coinage in 1965 due to rising silver prices and widespread hoarding during the coin shortages of the early 1960s. Thus, the 1970 quarter was struck entirely in copper-nickel clad composition, like all circulating quarters from 1965 onward. This clad composition consists of an inner core of pure copper, sandwiched between two layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin a total composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel and a weight of 5.67 grams. The mint facilities. Involved in quarter production in 1970 were Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Circulation strikes were produced in Philadelphia and Denver, while San Francisco focused on proof coins made specifically for collectors. The 1970 Denver quarter is by far the most common, with a mintage of over 417 million coins, while the Philadelphia Mint produced over 136 million coins without a mint mark. Proof quarters from San Francisco bore the S Mint mark and had a mintage of approximately 2.6 million, all included in 1970 proof sets. But what elevates the 1970 quarter from being a routine coin to a collector's treasure is the existence of remarkable varieties and rare minting errors, some of which have achieved legendary status in numismatic circles. One of the most famous and mysterious of these is the 1970 S-proof quarter, struck on a 1941 Canadian silver quarter. This is an extraordinary mint error and transitional strike. Only a handful of these error coins are known to exist, and they were likely created as intentional or accidental test strikes or experimental pieces. These coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint on leftover planchets, coin blanks, that were not meant to be used for U.S. coins, specifically a Canadian 1941 quarter. Because the Canadian quarter was slightly smaller and made of silver, the resulting coin shows parts of both the U.S. and Canadian designs, often visible under high magnification. One of these error coins famously sold for over $35,000 at auction, making it one of the most valuable quarters ever known from the modern clad era. Such an error highlights the fascinating and sometimes clandestine world of mint mistakes and off-metal strikes, which are highly desirable among error collectors. This rare 1970 S quarter also fuels speculation about intentional backdoor mint errors, coins made unofficially by mint employees and later released to the public under questionable circumstances. While the U.S. Mint officially denies any wrongdoing, such anomalies only add to the mystique and desirability of the 1970 quarter. In terms of design, the 1970 quarter still carried the original Flanagan design, but by this time, the dies used for striking coins had become heavily worn and degraded from years of use. As a result, many 1970 quarters lack sharp detail, especially in the hair above Washington's ear and on the eagle's feathers. Finding a 1970 quarter with a strong strike, minimal contact marks, and full design detail is significantly more difficult than with earlier or later issues. Collectors seek out examples in mint state, MS65 and above, and particularly those with full strike details or strong luster. Graded examples from services like PCGS and NGC in MS67 or higher can fetch strong premiums. Proof versions of the 1970 quarter are also of interest. These coins, produced by the San Francisco Mint for collectors, were struck multiple times with polished dies, resulting in mirror-like fields and frosted devices. Deep Cameo, DCAM, proofs from this year are especially collectible, showing dramatic contrast between the frosted portrait and the shiny background. High-grade Deep Cameo proof quarters from 1970 in PR69. DCAM or better are sought after, and can be worth substantially more than face value. Another factor that makes 1970 interesting is its place in the broader narrative of coin design. Evolution. The early 1970s marked the final years of the traditional Washington quarter design before more noticeable changes began to emerge. Although the basic design remained the same, die modifications and updates were on the horizon. By the 1980s and 1990s, newer sculpting styles and hub modifications began to change the look of Washington's bust. Eventually, in 1999, the reverse design was completely replaced with the launch of the 50-state quarters program, bringing an end to the long run of the original Eagle reverse. Therefore, 1970 stands as part of the final pure decade of the classic Washington quarter format. From a circulation standpoint, most 1970 quarters saw heavy use. They remain common in everyday transactions even today, but most are well worn and hold only face value. That said, sharp-eyed collectors still hunt for high-grade examples or hidden rarities, especially among bankrolls or old collections. In conclusion, while the 1970 United States quarter may seem like just another clad coin in a sea of modern currency, its true story is one of historical transition, hidden treasure, and subtle evolution. From the secretive mint error struck on a Canadian coin to the end of traditional quarter aesthetics, the 1970 quarter encapsulates a unique blend of intrigue and legacy. It serves as a bridge between the past and future of American coinage, a piece of metal that, though small in value, is rich in story. Whether found in change or collected in pristine proof, the 1970 quarter continues to captivate those who look beyond the surface and into the soul of America's coinage history. The 1998 United States quarter dollar is far more than just another coin struck for circulation. It represents the final chapter of a numismatic era that began in 1932 and carried America's most recognizable founding figure, George Washington, across nearly 7 decades of coinage. The 1998 Washington quarter stands at a historic crossroads in U.S. numismatics, being the last year to feature the traditional Eagle reverse before the launch of the monumental 50-state quarters program in 1999. In this sense, the 1998 quarter is both a conclusion and a prelude, the end of a design tradition and the gateway to one of the most ambitious coin programs in U.S. mint history. But to understand why the 1998 quarter is so significant, we must first take a step back and understand the full context of its design, mintage, and legacy. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, intended as a one-year commemorative, coined to honor the 200th birthday of President George Washington. The design by sculptor John Flanagan featured a left-facing bust of Washington on the obverse, inspired by Jean-Antoine Houdon's 1785 bust. The reverse bore a heraldic eagle with outspread wings perched on a bundle of arrows above an olive branch, symbolizing both military strength and peace. Originally struck in 90% silver, the quarter followed that standard until 1964. Rising silver prices and coin shortages forced the U.S. Mint to introduce the copper-nickel-clad composition starting in 1965, which continues to this day for general circulation quarters. These coins consist of an inner core of pure copper and outer layers composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin a silver appearance with a distinct copper edge when viewed from the side. The 1998 quarter continues this clad standard, with a total weight of 5.67 grams, a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a reeded edge. It was struck at 3 major mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark, for proof coins. The mintage figures were substantial: 896,068,000 from Philadelphia, 821,000 from Denver, and approximately 2.1 million proof coins from San Francisco. These high numbers reflect a time when coinage demand was strong, but also indicate that the 1998 quarters are relatively common in circulated condition. However, as the last issue before a major design change, high-grade examples and specific varieties from this year attract increased attention from collectors. One of the most important aspects of the 1998 quarter lies in its transitional significance. In 1997, Congress authorized the 50-state quarters program through the United States Commemorative Coin Program Act. This innovative series aimed to release 5 new quarter designs each year starting in 1999, one for every U.S. state in the order of statehood. Each coin would feature a unique reverse design celebrating that state's heritage, symbols, or landmarks. This massive undertaking required not just creative redesigns, but also logistical preparation from the mint. The year 1998 thus became the last full year of the traditional Washington quarter design, making it a kind of bookend to a 66-year era of design continuity. Numismatically, the 1998 quarter offers a few noteworthy aspects. Because of the high mintage, most examples found in circulation are heavily worn, showing significant contact marks and dulled surfaces. However, finding quarters from this year in mint state 65 and above can still pose a challenge, especially for coins with full luster, minimal abrasions, and sharp strike quality. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified many examples, and specimens in MS67 or MS68 with strong eye appeal can command premiums. The full strike versions, where Washington's hair details and the eagle's feathers are clearly defined, are especially desirable. Collectors often seek the best examples of the last of the old before the design shift. The 1998 S-proof coins are of particular interest to serious collectors. These coins were made using specially prepared dies and planchets, and were struck multiple times to create sharp detail and mirror-like surfaces. Many collectors look for cameo, cam, and deep cameo, decam designations, which indicate frosted, raised features and highly reflective fields. Proof quarters from 1998 that are graded PR69 or PR70 deep cameo are often part of complete proof sets or sold individually at premium prices. Additionally, these proof coins mark the end of an era. The last time the eagle reverse would be featured in a proof quarter for general issue. Another element of interest surrounding the 1998 quarter is the absence of major known mint errors, or high-profile varieties, unlike some earlier years like the 1970s or 1965 transitional errors. Still, minor doubled dies, off-center strikes, and die cracks are known to exist, and collectors with a sharp eye can find such errors, especially when searching through uncirculated rolls or mint sets. Even small errors from this year may become more desirable over time because of the quarter's transitional importance. Historically, the 1998 quarter reflects the final breath of a simpler uniform coinage era. The eagle reverse design, used from 1932 through 1998 with only 2 breaks in 1975 and 1976 for the bicentennial quarters, had become iconic. It was a familiar, dependable image to generations of Americans. Its retirement marked a significant change not only in numismatic tradition, but in how the U.S. Mint began to interact with the public. The 50-state quarters program, which began in 1999, was a marketing and educational success that transformed coin collecting from a niche hobby into a widespread cultural phenomenon. In this context, the 1998 quarter becomes the last classic quarter, both artistically and symbolically. From a collector's perspective, the 1998 quarter offers several entry points: circulated coins for basic date and mint mark collections, high-grade mint state examples for registry sets, proof coins for set completion, and historical significance for narrative-driven collections. While it may not yet have the dramatic values of older silver quarters or rare errors, its status as a design endpoint makes it increasingly collectible, especially in top condition. Furthermore, in years to come, as earlier clad coins become harder to find in pristine shape, the 1998 quarter may rise in collector prominence as a representative of its time. In summary, the 1998 United States quarter dollar is much more than a common pocket change coin. It is the ceremonial end of a nearly 7-decade legacy. As the final regular issue quarter to bear the traditional eagle reverse, it stands as a monument to the consistent aesthetic and functional design that served America for most of the 20th century. With solid production quality, collectible proof, variations, and a historical position at the threshold of massive change, the 1998 quarter offers an accessible yet meaningful collectible for modern numismatists. Whether admired for its artistry, its place in history, or its role in bridging the old with the new, the 1998 Washington quarter remains a quiet but powerful chapter in the continuing story of American coinage. Let me know if you'd like to turn this into a video script, article format, or add visuals or talking points for a presentation.